The strange signals appeared on Dr. Olivia Grant's monitor at 3:17 a.m. She blinked, rubbed her tired eyes, and looked again. The pattern didn't match any known celestial object or phenomenon in the database. "Hey, Charlie, come look at this," she called to her assistant. Charlie Mason shuffled over, coffee mug in hand. "What am I looking at, Doc?" "I don't know." Olivia pointed to the screen. "These readings from beyond Neptune's orbit. They're moving in formation." Charlie leaned closer. "Asteroids don't move like that." "No, they don't." Olivia saved the data and began running additional scans. By morning, the North American Observatory was buzzing with activity. Within 48 hours, Air Force Captain John Martinez arrived with a team of military scientists. Tall with serious eyes, he reviewed the data without revealing much emotion. "How certain are you about these readings, Dr. Grant?" he asked. 100%, she replied. "We've confirmed with 3 separate telescopes. Whatever these objects are, they're massive, moving together, and heading directly toward Earth." Martinez nodded. "The Pentagon wants this classified for now." "The scientific community needs to know," Olivia objected. "They will, but we need to understand what we're dealing with first." That evening, representatives from NASA, ESA, and China's Space Agency joined a secure video conference. All had detected the anomalies. The Chinese had captured thermal images showing heat signatures from what appeared to be enormous structures. "These aren't natural formations," said the NASA director. "The energy readings suggest propulsion systems beyond anything we've developed." Captain Martinez stood before the assembled experts. "Ladies and gentlemen, based on trajectory and speed, whatever this is will reach Earth in approximately 3 months." Olivia projected new data onto the main screen. "We've detected energy pulses between the objects. They appear to be communicating." "Have we tried to establish contact?" asked a representative from the UN. "Yes," Martins replied. "We've sent standard greeting protocols on all frequencies. No response." In the days that followed, astronomers around the world noted the objects accelerating, their formation tightening. The largest object measured nearly 15 miles in length. At the White House, the president received his first briefing. "We believe we're witnessing humanity's first contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence," the National Security Advisor explained. "Hostile or friendly?" the president asked. Captain Martinez cleared his throat. "Unknown, sir, but they're coming with what appears to be a substantial fleet." Dr. Grant presented her analysis. "The formation suggests a highly organized social structure. They're clearly technologically advanced, capable of interstellar travel." "What do they want?" the president asked. "That's what concerns us," Martins said. "Their approach vectors are consistent with tactical positioning. They're spreading out to cover more territory as they approach our solar system." The defense secretary spoke up. "Sir, we should activate the Orbital Defense Initiative." "That's premature," argued the Secretary of State. "We can't risk appearing hostile." Olivia studied the latest images. "There's something familiar about their formation." "It reminds me of..." "Of what, Doctor?" Martins asked. "Predatory behavior, like wolves surrounding prey." That night, observatories around the world tracked the objects as they passed through the Kuiper Belt. Their numbers became clearer, more than 200 vessels of varying sizes. Captain Martinez ordered military satellites repositioned to gather more data. When the images came in, the room fell silent. The vessels had definite structure, massive ships with what appeared to be weapon emplacements. "We need to inform the public," Olivia insisted. "Not yet," Martins replied. "First, we prepare." As dawn broke over the observatory, Olivia stared at the night sky. The visitors weren't visible to the naked eye yet, but she felt their presence. An ancient force moving inexorably toward Earth, hunting. But unknown to the approaching armada, humanity was no easy prey. The silent preparations had already begun. 1 month passed. The alien fleet maintained its steady course toward Earth, now visible through powerful telescopes as distinct shapes rather than mere anomalies. Dr. Grant stayed at the observatory day and night, analyzing every piece of data as it came in. "Look at this," she said to Captain Martinez one evening, pointing to her screen. "We can clearly see different designs among the vessels. They're not all identical." The largest ship led the formation, with the others arranged in what military analysts called a hunting pattern. Earth's scientists had counted 237 vessels in total, ranging from massive carrier-type ships to smaller, faster craft that appeared to serve as scouts. Across the globe, governments worked behind the scenes. Military bases went on high alert. Weapon systems dormant since the Cold War were quietly reactivated. Meanwhile, Samantha Kelly, a military analyst with a background in xenobiology, made a disturbing discovery. These protrusions along the hulls, she explained during a briefing, they match the energy signatures we've been detecting. They're almost certainly weapon systems. "How powerful?" asked Martinez. "Based on the energy outputs, they could devastate a city with a single blast." The UN Security Council convened in a closed session that lasted 18 hours. When they emerged, a unified global defense strategy had been established for the first time in human history. Dr. Grant found herself working with historians and anthropologists who brought forward an unexpected connection. Ancient Sumerian tablets described shining chariots of the gods arriving in similar formations. Cave paintings from 30,000 years ago showed strikingly similar vessel shapes. Throughout human history, stories persisted of visitors from the stars who came to harvest humans. "They've been here before," Dr. Grant realized. "These aren't first-time visitors." Captain Martinez was assigned to investigate these historical connections. In a remote cave system in Australia, he discovered paintings that depicted tall beings taking humans into ship-like structures. Carbon dating placed the paintings at around 15,000 years old. "Our ancestors were trying to warn us," he told Dr. Grant by video call. "These visitors aren't friendly." As the Armada passed Mars, Earth's deep space receivers picked up increased communications between the vessels. Dr. Grant's team worked around the clock to decode them. "We've managed to interpret fragments," she reported to the Emergency Council. "Based on these communications, they refer to Earth as a harvest world. There are references to collection quotas and processing procedures." The council room fell silent. "They're treating us like livestock," Samantha Kelly said finally, "or game animals." "Do they know we can detect them?" asked the Secretary General. "I don't think so," Martins replied. "Based on their communications, they expect to find the same primitive species they encountered during previous visits. They have no idea how far we've advanced." Across Earth, preparations accelerated. Civilians remained unaware of the full truth, though astronomy enthusiasts had begun spotting the approaching fleet through amateur telescopes. Official statements mentioned only unidentified celestial phenomena being studied. Underground military bases activated defense systems that had been built in secret over decades. Orbital platforms shifted into defensive positions under the guise of routine maintenance. "They'll reach lunar orbit in 5 days," Dr. Grant announced to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "Based on their deceleration, they'll establish position there before sending smaller vessels toward Earth." "Are we ready?" asked the general. Captain Martinez nodded grimly. "As ready as we can be." That night, Samantha Kelly's team intercepted a clear message from the lead alien vessel. "Begin harvest protocols. Standard resistance expected. Minimal losses projected." She forwarded the translation to Martinez with a note. "They think we're still using spears and arrows." The captain allowed himself a small smile. The aliens were expecting prey. They were about to discover Earth was nothing of the sort. The alien armada entered lunar orbit with mechanical precision. Their massive ships cast long shadows across the moon's surface as they positioned themselves in a hemisphere facing Earth. From the Lunar Defense Station, Lieutenant Eric Powell watched through reinforced viewports as the first scout ships detached from their mother vessels. "They're deploying smaller craft," he reported to Earth Command. I count 30. No, 40 separate vessels approaching the orbital defense grid. On Earth, Captain Martins and Dr. Grant monitored the situation from the newly established contact control center beneath the Rocky Mountains. All stations maintain silent running, Martins ordered. Let them make the first move. The world held its breath as the alien scouts approached Earth's web of satellites. For decades, nations had secretly launched defense platforms disguised as communication satellites and research stations. Now those disguises served a critical purpose. The first alien scout approached a weather satellite. From the scout, a beam of energy lanced out, intended to disable the seemingly primitive Earth technology. But instead of exploding into debris, the satellite's outer shell absorbed the blast. "They're testing our defenses," Samantha Kelly observed. That was a low-power shot. Lieutenant Powell's voice came through the speakers. "Sir, the aliens appear confused. They're circling the satellite, scanning it repeatedly." Dr. Grant leaned forward. "They expected it to be destroyed. They don't understand why it's still operational." 3 more scout ships joined the first, surrounding the satellite. They fired simultaneously with greater power. This time, the satellite's experimental shielding glowed blue but held. "Now," Martinez ordered. The satellite's outer panels retracted, revealing a weapon system unknown to the aliens. A pulse of concentrated energy struck the nearest scout ship, cutting through its hull. The alien vessel spun away, leaking atmosphere into space. Throughout Earth's orbit, similar scenes played out as the defense network activated. Satellites transformed into weapon platforms. Hidden moon bases revealed missile systems that launched toward the surprised alien scouts. In the alien command ship, confusion reigned. Their intelligence had indicated a primitive world with basic satellite technology. Instead, they faced coordinated defensive fire from hundreds of positions. "They're retreating," Powell reported as the scout ships broke formation and raced back toward the larger vessels. 4 confirmed disabled, 2 destroyed completely. On Earth, military commanders exchanged astonished looks. The aliens' weapons, while powerful, hadn't been as overwhelming as feared. More importantly, their tactics revealed they hadn't expected significant resistance. Dr. Grant accessed data from the damaged alien scout that had been captured by a stealth spacecraft. Their internal communication showed genuine surprise. They expected us to be at approximately 1950s technology levels. "Why would they think that?" Martins asked. Their previous visit, she realized. Their last harvest must have been decades or centuries ago. They had no idea how quickly we'd advance. Samantha Kelly pointed to new data coming in. "Look at these scans of their hull material. It's advanced, but our newest laser defense systems can penetrate it. We're actually hurting them." In orbit, Lieutenant Powell directed the Lunar Defense Station to full combat readiness. The first real battle was about to begin. "Main fleet is moving," he reported. 5 large vessels approaching Earth orbit. They appear to be deploying what looked like landing craft. Captain Martinez stood straighter. "All defense sectors, this is not a drill. Engage according to Protocol Theta." Across Earth, hidden missile silos opened. Aircraft with experimental propulsion systems launched from secret bases. Orbital defense platforms pivoted to face the approaching threat. The alien command ship sent a message to its fleet. Unexpected resistance encountered. Escalate to full harvest protocol. They still didn't understand. This wasn't just unexpected resistance. This was humanity revealing itself not as prey, but as predators in their own right. As the first major alien vessels entered Earth orbit, they were met with a defensive barrage that lit up the night sky across the planet. The hunt had begun, but not as the ancient alien armada had planned. The Krythak commander stood on the observation deck of the flagship, his scaled skin reflecting the dim red light. Monitoring screens showed the unexpected battle unfolding around Earth. 3 scout vessels had been completely destroyed, something that hadn't happened in thousands of harvests across hundreds of worlds. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his science officer. Our intelligence indicated a pre-space civilization. The data was correct, Supreme Hunter, the science officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. Their advancement has been exponential, far beyond normal evolutionary patterns. They've developed in centuries what should have taken millennia. At Earth-Moon Lagrange Point 1, the main alien fleet maintained position while reassessing their strategy. The damaged scout ship captured by Earth forces contained 3 living Krythak crew members, now held in a secure facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. Dr. Grant observed the aliens through reinforced glass. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with exoskeletons that shimmered with an iridescent blue-green color. Their 4 arms ended in clawed hands, and their eyes, 6 of them arranged in a circle, constantly moved in different directions. They evolved as hunters, she explained to Captain Martinez. Their vision covers a full 360 degrees, perfect for spotting prey or threats. The lead alien pressed its face against the glass, studying the humans with equal curiosity. We've managed to establish basic communication, Dr. Grant continued. They call themselves the Krythak. They've been harvesting less developed species for their resources for thousands of years. Resources? Martins asked, watching the aliens' predatory movements. Both biological and mineral. They process planets completely, stripping them of useful elements, and harvesting organic material. Samantha Kelly joined them, holding a tablet with translation software. We've learned more from their ship's database. They categorize worlds by development stage. Earth was classified as Stage 3 during their last visit, approximately equivalent to our 1940s. When was that? About 80 Earth years ago. They expected to find us slightly more advanced, but still defenseless against their technology. In orbit, Lieutenant Powell coordinated with global defense forces as the alien fleet regrouped. His lunar base had become the front line of Earth's defense. They're changing formation, he reported. Larger vessels moving to the front. I think they're preparing for a major assault. Inside the Krythak command ship, debate raged among the leadership council. We should withdraw and reassess, argued the tactical officer. This world has defenses we did not anticipate. Impossible, the Supreme Hunter replied. We have never abandoned a harvest. We will adapt and overcome as we always have. Their weapons can penetrate our shields, insisted another commander. The smaller vessels report successful counterattacks by the Earth forces. The Supreme Hunter silenced them with a threatening display of his upper fangs. We have conquered worlds with far greater resistance. Modify our approach, but the harvest will continue. Back on Earth, Dr. Grant made a breakthrough in communications with the captured aliens. One of them, younger than the others, seemed more willing to engage. They've never failed a harvest, she told the emergency council. They can't comprehend the possibility. It goes against their entire social structure. Then we need to make them comprehend it, Martins said grimly. The biology team's report arrived, confirming what many had suspected. The Krythak had evolved as apex predators, with hierarchical pack structures similar to wolves or lions on Earth. Their society was built around hunting, with status determined by successful harvests. This isn't just about resources, Samantha Kelly realized. It's about their identity. They see themselves as the ultimate predators in the galaxy. Lieutenant Powell's voice came through with new urgency. They're moving. Main assault force approaching Earth orbit. On the command screens, the alien fleet split into attack formations. They still believed they faced primitive prey that had developed unexpected defenses. They had yet to realize that humans were predators too. Predators who had spent millennia fighting each other, perfecting the art of war. As the Krythak fleet advanced, Earth's coordinated defense network prepared to teach them a lesson about hunting on the wrong world. The first coordinated human counterattack began at dawn. Fighter squadrons launched from bases around the world, their pilots operating aircraft that few civilians knew existed. These weren't ordinary jets, but aerospace vehicles designed to function in both atmosphere and space. Captain Martinez led the Alpha Squadron from the cockpit of his X-83 Raptor. The sleek black craft rose through the clouds, its advanced propulsion system leaving no contrail. "All squadrons report," he ordered through his helmet comm. "Beta Squadron ready," came the reply from the European forces. "Gamma Squadron in position," reported the Asian Pacific Command. "Delta Squadron awaiting your mark," added the Southern Hemisphere Defense Group. On Earth, the United Nations Security Council had established a unified command structure for the first time in history. Ancient enemies now coordinated their forces against a common threat. "They're beginning their descent," Lieutenant Powell warned from the lunar base. 40 large vessels breaking into Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific. "Engage according to plan," Martins ordered. "Remember, target their propulsion systems first." Samantha Kelly had discovered a weakness in the alien vessels. Their engine cores emitted a specific radiation signature that could be tracked and targeted. Human weapons, while less powerful than the aliens, could be precisely aimed at these vulnerabilities. The battle lit up the sky as Earth's defenders engaged the Crythak harvest ships. The aliens' confidence quickly turned to confusion as they encountered not disorganized resistance, but a coordinated global response. In orbit, Lieutenant Powell directed orbital platforms to fire on the alien support vessels. Missiles struck with surprising effectiveness, penetrating shields the aliens had believed impenetrable. "How are they doing this?" demanded the Crythak fleet commander. "Their weapons should not affect our defenses." On the ground, Dr. Grant maintained communication with the captured alien. Through their conversations, she had learned more about Crythak psychology. "They've never adapted to defeat," she explained to the Security Council via video. "Their society has no concept of losing a hunt. Every previous world they've harvested fell to their first assault." In the skies above the Pacific, Martinez's squadron executed a maneuver the aliens couldn't comprehend. The Earth fighters appeared to retreat, drawing several Crythak vessels into pursuit. "They're following," Martins confirmed. Just as predicted, the alien ships, eager to chase what they perceived as fleeing prey, didn't notice they were being led into a carefully planned trap. As they followed the Earth fighters into a narrow band of airspace, hidden ground batteries activated from islands below. "Now," Martinez ordered. Concentrated energy beams struck the alien ships from multiple angles simultaneously. 3 massive harvest vessels lost power and plummeted toward the ocean below. The coordinated action repeated across the globe. Crythak ships found themselves surrounded by smaller, faster Earth craft that seemed to anticipate their every move. Inside the alien command vessel, the Supreme Hunter watched in growing alarm as reports of losses came in from all sectors. "They're hunting us," his tactical officers said in disbelief. "They're using pack tactics against us." For the first time in the long history of the Crythak Armada, the hunters were becoming the hunted. Dr. Grant's translator captured a transmission between alien vessels. "The prey fights with coordination. The prey knows our weaknesses. The prey is not prey." Samantha Kelly's team had successfully hacked into the aliens' communication network, inserting false data and confusing their targeting systems. What the Crythak had expected to be a simple harvest had turned into a desperate battle for survival. By sunset, the first wave of the alien assault had been repelled. 7 major harvest ships had been destroyed or disabled, with dozens of smaller craft captured or forced to retreat. Captain Martinez landed his fighter at the main command base, his squadron following. As he removed his helmet, he received the latest intelligence report. "The alien fleet is regrouping beyond lunar orbit," he announced to the waiting officers. "They're pulling back to reassess." For the first time, humanity had shown the ancient predators that Earth would not be easy prey. The message was clear. This hunt would end differently than any in the Crythak's long history. The next phase of the battle began 3 days later. Earth forces, no longer content to merely defend, pushed beyond the moon's orbit. Captain Martins led a squadron of 12 space-capable fighters, their hulls reinforced with technology derived from studying the captured alien vessels. "Operation Huntsman is a go," he announced to his pilots. "Remember, our goal is the command ship." The Earth vessels accelerated toward the regrouping alien fleet. The Krythak, still recovering from their first defeat, scrambled to form a defensive perimeter. "They're protecting the central vessel," Martinez observed, just as Dr. Grant predicted. On Earth, Dr. Grant watched the operation through satellite feeds. Her understanding of Krythak psychology had proven invaluable to military planners. "Their society can't accept defeat," she explained to the UN Security Council. "They'll sacrifice smaller ships to protect their leadership. It's hardwired into their species." Lieutenant Powell coordinated from the lunar base, directing Earth's newly revealed defense network. What had appeared to be simple research stations across the solar system now revealed their true purpose: a series of weapon platforms extending from Mercury to the asteroid belt. "Asteroid defense batteries online," Powell reported. "Mars outposts standing by." The Krythak had no idea that humans had been preparing defenses throughout the solar system for decades. What they had assumed would be an easy harvest had turned into a desperate battle against a species that had spent its entire history fighting itself, and was now turning those skills outward. Martinez's squadron split into 3 attack groups, approaching the alien command ship from different vectors. The Krythak responded predictably, sending vessels to intercept each group. "They're taking the bait," Martinez confirmed. "Ready secondary approach." From behind Mars, a stealth vessel emerged. Piloted by Samantha Kelly and a small team of specialists, it had remained hidden from alien sensors. While the main attack drew attention, Kelly's ship approached the alien command vessel from its unprotected flank. "We're in position," she reported, preparing to breach. Her team had studied the alien ship designs captured from their databases. They knew exactly where to strike to disable rather than destroy the massive vessel. Inside the Krythak command ship, the Supreme Hunter received alarming reports from all sectors. "The prey has weapons throughout their system," his science officer reported in disbelief. "They've been preparing for us." "Impossible," the Supreme Hunter snarled. "No species has ever." An explosion rocked the ship, cutting off his words. The stealth vessel had attached to the command ship's hull, and Earth forces were cutting their way inside. Martinez's fighters engaged the protective screen of alien vessels, drawing them away from the command ship. Earth's orbital and planetary defense systems fired in coordinated sequence, creating corridors through which the fighters could maneuver. "The humans employ strategy we have not seen," the Krythak tactical officer admitted. "They fight not as prey, but as rival predators." Samantha Kelly's team breached the command ship's main control center. Armed with weapons designed specifically to incapacitate Krythak biology, they secured the bridge in minutes. "Command center captured," Kelly reported. "Supreme Hunter in custody." The news spread through both human and alien forces. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Krythak leadership had been captured by intended prey. In the hours that followed, Earth forces secured key vessels throughout the alien fleet. Without central command, the Krythak's strict hierarchy worked against them. Lower-ranking ships awaited orders that never came. Dr. Grant arrived on the captured command ship to establish communication with the Supreme Hunter. The massive alien regarded her with all 6 eyes, mandibles clicking in what the translation software identified as disbelief. "You were supposed to be prey," the Supreme Hunter said through the translator. "We were never prey," Dr. Grant replied simply. "You just didn't recognize us as fellow predators." Captain Martinez joined them on the bridge, looking out at the Earth visible through the view screen. Beautiful, blue, and now proven to be one of the most dangerous worlds the galaxy had ever known. "Send the message to all their vessels," he ordered. "The hunt is over." The Krythak Supreme Commander stood rigidly before the assembled human delegation. His iridescent exoskeleton reflected the lights of the United Nations General Assembly Hall, converted into a secure meeting space for this historic encounter. Behind him stood 3 subordinate aliens, their posture submissive after the defeat of their once mighty armada. Across from them sat representatives from Earth's Unified Defense Coalition. Captain Martinez and Lieutenant Powell wore their formal military uniforms. Dr. Grant served as the primary interpreter, the translation device at her throat converting her words into the clicking language of the Krythak. For 50,000 years, we have harvested worlds across 3 spiral arms of this galaxy, the Supreme Hunter began. Never before have we encountered a species that could resist us. Your world was cataloged as primitive during our last assessment. Dr. Grant translated his words for the assembly. When was this assessment made? Asked the UN Secretary General. By your time measurement, approximately 80 of your years ago, the alien replied. Captain Martinez leaned forward. You found us during what we call our Second World War. Yes, your species was still using primitive combustion weapons and had only basic flight capabilities. Our prediction models showed you would advance only marginally before our return. The human delegates exchanged glances. The aliens had drastically underestimated humanity's capacity for technological development, especially when driven by conflict. We have reviewed your historical records, the Supreme Hunter continued. Your species advances through warfare at a rate we have never witnessed. You turned your aggression inward, fighting yourselves, perfecting your weapons and defenses. Dr. Grant nodded as she translated. We've always been our own worst enemies. Until now. Samantha Kelly presented evidence from the captured alien database. Your fleet has conquered 312 worlds across the galaxy. On each world, you found passive species or those with minimal defensive capabilities. That is correct, the Supreme Hunter acknowledged. The natural order we observed showed that intelligent species develop either aggression or intelligence, rarely both in equal measure. Humans developed both, Lieutenant Powell said. Yes, an anomaly we failed to recognize until too late. The Secretary General stood, addressing both the human delegation and the alien representatives. We have prepared terms for a formal treaty. Earth and its solar system will be recognized as sovereign territory, never to be approached with hostile intent by the Krythak again. The Supreme Hunter's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress or perhaps reluctant acceptance. And what of our captured vessels and crew? Most will be returned to you, Captain Martinez answered. We will retain some for study, with their crews given the option to return home or remain as cultural ambassadors. The terms of the treaty were projected on screens throughout the hall. It established not only peace between humans and Krythak, but also protections for less developed worlds. The aliens would cease their harvesting practices throughout the galaxy. You are forcing us to change the foundation of our civilization, the Supreme Hunter noted. Yes, Dr. Grant replied simply, just as you would have changed ours had you succeeded in your harvest. After hours of negotiation, the treaty was finalized. The Supreme Hunter pressed his clawed hand to a digital scanner, officially binding his species to the agreement. Later, in a smaller meeting room, Dr. Grant sat across from the Supreme Hunter in a more informal setting. The alien seemed different now, less imperious, more contemplative. Your species has achieved in decades what others take millennia to develop, he said. We believed ourselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy. And now? Dr. Grant asked. Now we understand there is always a larger predator somewhere in the darkness. Captain Martinez joined them, bringing data tablets showing Earth's defensive capabilities throughout the solar system. We've been preparing for threats for generations, not specifically for you, but for any hostile force. The Supreme Hunter's 6 eyes focused on the images. Your history shaped you, always fighting, always improving your ability to destroy. We never faced a species that had already been testing itself against itself. As they parted, the alien commander paused at the doorway. There is an old saying among my people. The most dangerous prey is one that has known the mind of a hunter. We did not realize that humans were not just prey who learned to defend themselves. What were we then? Asked Dr. Grant. Predators who had been hunting each other so long you perfected the art far beyond our capabilities.